Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, the unstoppable Mike C-Roc. At some point, I'm going to be saying your man, the unstoppable, but I'm not grown up yet. So, I don't ever want to grow up, and I'm getting ready to turn actually 45, and I don't feel it. I don't think I look it, but I definitely don't feel it. I live a life like a kid, enjoying myself, taking very little seriousness. And this is a change that's helped me in my life, and I want to continue that. So I will come to you someday and say your man, C-Roc, but for now, we're going to stick with your boy. And I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the support in all that I do. I have a lot going on, and it's all centered around creating unstoppable people. And so, again, we'll start with thanks and gratitude today. And I want to introduce you to my friend, Dr. Cheryl Wood. She actually is in like the DC, Maryland area, which is cool because I'm in Ocean City, Maryland. And so she's a local lady, and she's the CEO of Vocalize and founder of SpeakerCon, where anyone can learn how to empower themselves and execute on their dreams no matter what. She was an unfulfilled mom of 3, running the corporate rat race, and turned into a $1 million entrepreneur mom, and now also partnered with Les Brown. You guys know Les Brown. You got to be hungry. Did I do that good?
That was great. That was actually
okay.
Good.
She has empowered over 72,000 people to execute on their dreams, and has taught 10,000 women how to turn themselves into amazing speakers with her entrepreneur success strategies. Dr. Wood, thank you so much for being here on the What Are You Made Of show.
Thank you for having me. I'm loving your energy. It's just, energy is contagious. So I'm catching it over here. I love it.
Yeah. You know what? One of my core values is the first one. I have an acronym for my core values and my company's core values that we use. And it's an acronym, VITALS, and V stands for vibes matter and emotions are contagious. And so if you understand that, I ain't going to bring nobody down. I'm only bringing people up. That's it. I mean, there's no other options. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you for noticing that. But let's start the show like we always do, and asking you the question, Dr. Cheryl, what are you made of?
That's such a good question. It's so juicy. I love it. If I had to pick one word specifically, I would say I am made of tenacity. Like, there is just this stubbornness in my spirit, this relentless, unwavering energy I have, that I am going to get everything that I want. No matter how hard, no matter how many people don't think I should get it, no matter how sometimes I even think I'm not deserving of it because of my own toxic thinking or head trash. No matter what, no matter how many times I get knocked down, I'm getting back up and I'm coming for it, because I believe all of us deserve to live a life that we are absolutely in love with. So I'm on that mission and that pursuit every single day, and to help other people do that. So tenacity is definitely what I'm made of.
I love it. We align well, because my mission is that all people are unstoppable to live in the life of their dreams. And I filter my thoughts, words, actions, and my environment around it. Wow. And ever since I've done that, my life has been phenomenal, and I've been able to help so many people. So I love that. We're definitely in alignment there. And that's really, one of the reasons I asked that question. And, let's get into why that's like that, and take us back a ways. Where did you grow up? What was it like growing up as a kid? Because there's something there. There's a decision that you made in the past that has led you to be who you are today, and have that tenacity. And that's a good decision to stick with. There's other decisions we make that lead us down the wrong road, and we need to get rid of those decisions and change them. But this one, it was a good one. So take us back.
Yeah, I think the tenacity and the stubbornness comes from being considered as an underdog for most of my life. I grew up in an inner city housing project in Baltimore, Maryland, called Lafayette Projects. And you can imagine what came with that. Like, literally some of the worst parts of life. You're every day that I come out of my house, you're looking at people who are on one corner and they're selling drugs. And then on the opposite corners are people who are strung out on those drugs they're selling. Teenage pregnancy, people who go to work every day but are so beneath the poverty line they can barely put food on the table. That was my reality. And what made it even worse was there was so much dysfunction even in my own household, because my father suffered from alcoholism. And so he would get drunk, so drunk that it would change him. It would turn him into a different person. And he would do these crazy things that would land him in jail. So most of what I knew of my dad growing up was literally seeing the cops come and arrest him and take him away. And then we'd go visit him in jail and take him socks and cigarettes. So it was very, very dysfunctional. And in that environment, nobody's telling you that you can be a giant in the world. They're not reaffirming for you that there's greatness inside of you. They're mostly telling you, prepare that this is going to be your reality too, and you're probably going to be another statistic. To add to that, when I graduated high school, which was already a blessing because a lot of kids I grew up with didn't make it. And I mean, with their life, didn't make it out. I made it out of that environment. I graduated high school, but then I get into the corporate space and the world is still telling me I'm not good enough and what I can't be and can't accomplish, because now I don't have a piece of paper that says I'm good enough and I'm smart enough. So I didn't go from poverty into an Ivy League education. I went straight from poverty into let me get a job so I can try to get out of poverty. So now I don't have these letters behind my name that so many people are dependent upon to believe that, oh, this is what makes me worth it. This is what tells the world I'm good enough. So I just felt like there were all these moments in my life where the world was telling me I wasn't enough. I'm never going to be whatever the thing is I want. And there's just something that happened in my spirit once I kind of grew up and became a woman. And especially when I became a mom, I wanted to show my kids what it looked like to defy the odds, like to have everybody telling you you can't, you ain't good enough, and to prove everybody wrong, but mostly to prove it to myself that yes, I can, because I'm going to focus more energy on what I have, what I possess, what I bring to the table than what I'm lacking. Yeah. And so that just put me on that path of, again, that tenacious, stubborn spirit of, oh, I'm going to show you, but first I'm going to show me and I'm going to prove it to me. And then you get to be a bystander to all the things I'm going to manifest, because I'm going to shift my own, as you mentioned, my words, my thoughts, my beliefs, and my attitudes and patterns.
Love it. So let me ask you this, and this is, I've been through with brokenness, growing up around broken people. I don't remember my parents together, all that jazz, but my mom and dad got remarried. My stepmom was out there. I don't care if she hears it. She's had some issues, right? And I'm not even taking it personal. I'm just saying she has some issues. Yep. And I remember it being so bad in the household that it was as a kid, that's all you knew. So I just want to ask you this question. Was it like, hey, this is just ordinary, this is the way it is? Like, did you feel that sometimes? Like you just didn't, but like now you look back, you're like, holy cow, I grew up in that. Yeah. Like, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it is mind blowing that I'm pretty much sane because of all that stuff that I went through, to be very honest, in hindsight. When I was going through it, I don't think it was until I became kind of a teenager, like when I hit 14, 15, that I realized how dysfunctional it was. And I started to get angry. Yeah, I went from being disappointed, like, man, this is kind of crazy, but that's my dad and this is my life, to 14, 15, 16. I'm like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to be in poverty. I don't want to live with my dad being crazy and acting crazy and wreaking havoc in our lives. I don't want this to be my life, period.
Yeah. I mean, I think I did that too in the teenage years, and I started fighting. Like, I'm like, I don't give a shit. Say something. Say something. Right. And I wouldn't do the thing where, you ever see the guys when they fight and they get up in each other's faces and stuff. I didn't do all that. I just, if we're going to fight, it's going down, and I'm gonna make sure I get the first shot. And that was just stupid. Like, I look back and I kind of like the sport of it in a way. This is weird. Let me go on this tangent for a minute. I like the sport of it. Like, it was a competition in a way, because I played sports growing up and all that, but the stupidness of it, of like the trouble you could get in to hurt somebody you could hurt, just because it's, you're trying to be right or prideful. Like, I did that for a while, and then I got out of it, of course, because I wisened up. But I remember that anger that you're talking about. Yeah. So The Wire. I watched The Wire. Did you watch that show at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Did it remind you of growing up?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many dilapidated buildings and homes, and man, I mean, even now, I don't go back to Baltimore very often because there's not a reason really for me to go back. But every once in a while I go back into, and I mean the city, in the inner city, but if I do have to go back for whatever reason, it does kind of just it just catches me like, whoa, this was and sometimes I'll, tell my kids, I try to explain to my kids how I grew up. They have no concept, because their life is completely different, because I changed my life. So their life could be different. Right. Yeah. But it really is, I praise God for bringing me through what could have broken me or taken me out of here. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a believer in God, and I just know that God gives us free will.
Yeah.
And you got to give him the honor and glory for being able to give you that free will, but you also did it. And he wants us to have that credit for doing it, because not being prideful, but understanding that we're in control with the blessings that he's given us. Too many people just put it all on God, and you're supposed to put your worries and fears on God, but you still got to take action with what he's given you.
Oh my God, I
know,
told you,
and you
you
did that.
always speak my language. You really do speak my language, because that's one thing I share with every client that I work. I'm like, okay, it's great, but we all know the scripture of faith without works is dead, right? So it's like, okay, you pray for, I want a way out. I want a different reality. I want a different life. I want to impact lives, whatever the thing is. I want to live this dream. But after you get up off your knees from praying, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not just about the prayer. You think that you're waiting on God to show up and drop something in your lap, but it's just the opposite. He's waiting on you to get into motion to show him and demonstrate that I want this bad enough that I'm willing to put something in. I'm willing to make deposits. I'm willing to plant seeds so that I can manifest this thing that's on my mind and on my heart. So I absolutely am in agreement with
and
that.
being open, like, to see it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to be open to see it. You know, so also the story that you tell yourself matters, right? So like, when did you start telling yourself a story of why you're going to be successful and believe in that? Because that's what follows once you tell the story, is you make yourself right on the story that you're telling. Right.
Yeah, so I think it was just a risk. Once I became a mother, everything changed. My priorities shifted. I have 3 kids now. They're teenagers, but when I first started the journey 12 years ago, you know, they were like 1, 2, and 4. So they were babies, right? And I'm running off to this job that I'm not in love with every day, but pays the bills, running myself ragged, but then bringing the worst parts of me home to the people I said I love the most, my husband and my kids. Like, they really did get the worst of me. They got the tired, grouchy, irritable woman who was unfulfilled. And I'm just like, this cannot be what I was created for. Like, there has to be something greater, grander beyond this. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to get it. But I do know that the way to position myself to get it, and this is just, you know, just from knowing and from reading books, is I've got to interrupt what I've always done. I've got to do something different to create some type of shift so that I'm not just doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. So for me, it was acknowledging that I was going to have to interrupt my norm and then actually executing that. So my executing of something different was starting a business. I didn't start out as a speaker. I started this little itty bitty t-shirt business while I was still working my corporate job as a legal secretary. That was me interrupting the norm and creating some level of alignment with who I could possibly become. So all of it was just kind of well, let's see where this goes. There was no guarantee. I didn't expect a guarantee. I didn't have a blueprint, but I was willing to place bets on me that you're smart enough, you're good enough. There's something about you that's craving for greater. So that means there's something inside of you that's willing to execute so that you can get greater. So let's try this thing out. Started the t-shirt business, and literally that put me on the path of discovering that speaking was my gift. So it was because I was in motion and movement that the story started to shift. And then I was able to start rewriting a new story.
Wow. So did you have an itch to speak, or did you just start speaking for the t-shirt business?
Like, someone who saw, look, I would go out on weekends and I would put up a vendor table, and sell t-shirts after I worked all week, and I was already frustrated about that. So I go to conferences and vendor shows and trade shows and flea markets, like anywhere I could set up a table, I'd pay for the table and set up. So that I did that for 18 months, and out of the blue, and it's really not out of the blue, because I believe all things are in alignment with what the action that you take. But out of the blue, I get a phone call from someone at Morgan State University who heard about the t-shirt business. And they called me and said, hey, we are hosting this annual women's conference here at Morgan State. We heard about your t-shirt business through the community. We would love to have you come to our conference and speak so that you can teach other moms in the community how to start their own businesses. And I'm not going to lie, I burst out laughing. And I was like, well, clearly you have dialed the wrong number. You cannot be looking for me. I'm not a speaker. That's not what I do. I didn't even see it as a part of any part of my trajectory, right? But then I said, Cheryl, sometimes when you're in motion, God will drop things in your lap. I'm like, okay, this is the thing. And you're so busy telling yourself why you're not qualified instead of realizing that you are called and equipped to do that thing. Give yourself permission to say, yeah, see where it takes you. So I said yes. I got out of my own, stinking thinking, said yes. Showed up at the conference. It was September 18th, 2010. I remember it like it was yesterday. Look, my palms were sweaty. I couldn't shake anybody's hand. My heart was racing. My stomach was in knots. But I was like, just be you. Don't try to use no big words. You ain't go to college. Just go up there and just be authentically you. And I got up to that stage and I just shared my truth of where I was in my journey and what I wanted and why I wanted greater and why I wanted more. And that is when it hit me, because as I'm looking out in the audience, there are women who are, their tears running down their face and they're wiping the tears from their eyes, or they have their notepad and they're penning it, taking these notes. Like I'm saying something so profound and all I'm doing really
just being
is just sharing my truth and being me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was in that moment that I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. You know why? Because this is how I want to make other people feel for the rest of my life.
It's great.
And I think that's the connection. When you make your life bigger than you, there's this profound internal joy that you can't put a price tag on. And that's how I felt. That's how speaking found me. I didn't find it.
Yeah, man, I love that. And then so I'm going to talk about what you're doing and all that. But before we do that, we're in just the beginnings of Black History Month, and it's February 3rd, right? Yeah. Groundhog Day was yesterday. For those who are watching the recording of this, it's February 3rd today. But so I wanted to ask you a question about this. You being a Black woman, what does it mean to you, and how do you? I guess I don't want to say celebrate. Yeah, I guess you celebrate the history of it, but like just in remembrance of the history of everything that we've been through as a country, and everything that the Black people have been through in this country, and all the contributions that African Americans have made in this country. Like, what are your thoughts? And I guess, how do you, acknowledge that in your household?
You know what? I have a spirit of gratitude. And that gratitude comes from several different angles, if you will. Gratitude that I stand on the shoulders of people who look like me, who were willing to just, break all the norms and take risks so that I could have the freedom to pursue the thing that I love to do and be in the position that I'm in today, to be able to say, I'm traveling all across the world to impact other people's lives. I couldn't do that if somebody didn't blaze the path before me. So I'm grateful from that perspective. And then secondly, I'm grateful that now that I am in this space and we're in a space in society, look, let's just admit it, the world is still jacked up. Like, there's still a lot that has to be done and a lot of change that has to be made. And we see that. But there's also, there's been a lot of progression. And I am grateful for the progression and grateful to be what I believe will be a part of the solution for future generations, including for my own children, to show them what it means to stand on the shoulders of your ancestors who created and paved the way. And now your mom is helping create, and your dad create and pave the way a little bit more so that it can be even better for you. And you will have access to things that even we didn't have access to. You will come from wealth. Unlike me, I didn't come from wealth. So I just have a spirit of sheer gratitude, but also with the understanding that there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of equality. There's still a lot to be done in terms of, especially with women, with equal pay and rights. So a lot to be done, but also a lot to be grateful for. And I do have a spirit of gratitude.
Yeah, thank you for that that answer. And just one thing, like, when you get up in the morning, do you feel a sense of responsibility? See, one thing for me, I'm not a Black man, obviously, but in a different capacity. When I wake up in the morning, I understand that I'm a role model, and I understand that people are watching me, my kids, my wife, my employees, like anybody that's watching anybody, they're watching you because they want to see whether they have an excuse to fail or they have an excuse to rise. Right. And that's what something that every day I wake up. Does that ever go through your mind when you don't feel like getting up? Like,
Absolutely.
Man, I don't feel like today, man. I got to deal with this shit today, man. No, but like all the people that sacrificed before.
Yeah, it goes right back to what I said earlier, making your life bigger than you. So yeah, every day I make my life bigger than me, because if it's only about me, I can excuse myself out of getting up and doing this and doing that. And oh, I'm too tired. I don't feel like it. I got so much on my plate. If you knew my schedule right now, you'd be surprised I'm even on this call, because it's crazy. My kids are in 3 different schools. I'm gone from 7 a.m. Literally, I'm in the car about 6 hours a day. And then I do work in between that. And then I'm on calls till like 10, 11 o'clock at night, because my schedule is so crazy. Thank God my daughter's a senior this year, so it'll only be for another 4 months that this crazy schedule is there. But the only thing that pushes me, it's not me, it's not what I want. It's knowing that people are watching. It's knowing that I have the ability to impact, inspire, empower other people to say, if she can, then surely I can too. If she got up today, I'm going to get up. If she pressing through today, I'm going to press through. If she's moving through challenges, then I'm going to do it too. So absolutely, every day, it's about my life being bigger than me.
Yeah. And to make sure that the sacrifices that came before were not in vain.
Not in vain.
I love that. I love that.
Absolutely.
So what are you getting into now that's got you lit up? Like you talked about here on the bio, Vocalize and SpeakerCon. Tell us about those.
Yeah, SpeakerCon is my annual conference that I designed specifically as a space for speakers, entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, people who really want to tap into utilizing their expert knowledge and their story to touch other people's lives, to come in that space, to connect with other people of like minds, which is so important, to get some education, to network, and also to be celebrated in that space, because all of us should be celebrating what we're doing on an everyday basis. So that's an annual event that I do in November. So I'm just kind of floating still off of the November event I just did. Phenomenal impact that we made with that conference. And then I'm doing some other exciting things. I'm about to publish my 4th book project with the guru, Les Brown. So we partnered for 4 book projects that allow other people to share their stories in those projects. This one, the 4th one, is coming out June, the end of June. It's called Dare to Rise Above Mediocrity. And it is 45 amazing women and men who are sharing their story about how they raise the bar of expectation on themselves so that they can touch more lives. And then there's just a host of other things I'm doing all throughout the year. Look, I don't know how I get sleep because I got so much stuff going on, but I'm fired up. I'm fired up about the fact that I have life and breath in my body. I'm energized about the fact that I get to touch millions of lives. Last year, I had one of the biggest, most profound losses in my life, other than I lost my dad several years back, but I lost my nephew. So I have a twin sister. We're extremely close. Her baby boy passed away in an unfortunate motorcycle accident last August. And for this guy, I mean, my nephew was amazing. He was on a full ride scholarship at Morgan State University. He was on the dean's list. He was the starting wide receiver for the Morgan State Bears. Like, I could just dote on him all day and all night, and he is gone. And so to know that no day is promised, it inspires me to get up and make today the most amazing day I can make it. And that's every day. I turn that on the next morning when I wake up and open my eyes, like, thank you, God. I get another opportunity to set an example, to pave the new path, to show my kids what it looks like to walk in the thing that you're most passionate about. I get to be an inspiration for somebody who's watching me. Even if I never meet them, I know that my life and my light is making an impact in the world. And that's priceless for me. So I just keep that in the forefront of my mind every single day. Your tomorrow's not promised. So are you satisfied with what you've done today?
Yeah, that's your rocket fuel, like my book right here. Yeah, you got to find that fuel, man. And that right there is not toxic fuel. Like, do you start off when you're in the hole? You start off with toxic fuel. You got to find any fuel source that you can. But when you get past that line of demarcation, you move into a situation where your engine's more refined. And that's what you use as your fuel. It's more cleaner, higher octane, right? So what's the vision for the future now?
Oh my God, that's a good question. Oh, that's so good. You know, I really admire amazing orators like Les Brown, Lisa Nichols, who's also a coach and a friend, you know, Brian Tracy, and folks who have truly just left their mark on the world through their verbal communication skills. I would like to ascend to that level where I am literally touching millions of lives in their households, and knowing that my fingerprint really counted for something very profound, so much bigger than me that I could never put a price tag on it. That's the direction I want to go in, and I want to be able to take that all across the world. So I just love helping people and inspiring people to be better than they are, better today than they were yesterday.
Don't want to now. Don't want to. Be it. Just be it. Step into it right now. Just be it. You're already there. You just got to go make it happen now. Like the experiences, man. Let's go. Well, look, I want to thank you so much, Dr. Cheryl, for being here, contributing to my show, my audience. It means the world to me when people like yourself come on. And I just can't thank you enough. And I want to wish you all the best. I'm rooting for you. And if there's anything I can ever do, all you got to do is reach out to your boy, C-Roc.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Rocket fuel. I love that.
Hey, thanks. By the way, where can my audience reach you?
On social media at Cheryl Empowers, and on the web at CherylEmpowers.com. All
right, go get her. Go get her, guys. Go check her out. Let her know that you heard her here or watched her here on the What Are You Made Of show. Keep coming back, guys. You've been listening to one of the greatest shows out there. Let's face it. I bring great guests to you. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about the guests. And we're going to continue to do this over and over again until you get it through your thick heads that you are unstoppable to live in the life of your dreams. Until next time, I'm your boy, C-Roc. Be unstoppable.